In this video, we want to create a two-way table when we are giving some statistics, some frequencies related to two different categories. So we surveyed some students, 198 students to be exact, at a local community college. And we asked them whether or not they were taking math or English or both or neither, just a general statement. Now, what we see here is a blank two-way table. And what we want to do usually if we want to create this is to think about and compare those who are either taking math, not math, English, and not English. So if you think about if you were asked this question, are you taking math or English, neither or both, or you would have to kind of consider them both and individually. Am I taking math? Yes or no? Am I taking English? Yes or no? And so those are the four kind of categories that we're working with. Math, yes, no. English, yes, no. So that's what I'm going to put into the columns and rows. So if we think about math as someone answering, are they taking math? Well, you could say yes to that or no to that. Same thing with English. With English, you could yes, be taking English, and no, not be taking English. Now we want to look at the information that we're given and try to fill in some of the pieces that we know. We're told 36 students were taking both classes. So that means there are 36 people who fit into this category right here. Yes, they're taking math. Yes, they're taking English. 89 students were taking neither class. So that is this cell in this table, no for English, no for math. And it says 41 students were taking math. So this is the total column for all of those who said yes to math. So that means the total for those who are taking math is 41. Now we actually have enough information here with these cells to complete the rest of the table. And what we can use are the totals. So if we know a certain amount total in a row or in a column, we can use a little bit of subtraction to figure out the remaining cells. Now before I think backwards, there is another piece of information that I did not put in, and that is the total. That is the total students who completed this survey. That goes here in the bottom right. So there are 198 people. So again, lots of ways that we could think through this. Maybe we'll start here just by focusing on the totals. We know that this 198 people will be describing all of those. They're either taking math, yes or no. So we know when we add up these two cells, 41 and some unknown number, that needs to equal 198. So I can just do a little bit of subtraction, 198 minus 41. And that difference must be those who are not taking math, the total number of people who are not taking math. And it looks like that is 157. So if there are 41 people taking math and there are a total of 198 people, then that means the difference, 157, those are the individuals who are not taking math. So now we can look at some columns. Again, how you complete this in the process, there's lots of ways that you could think through it. I'll start over here now. Let's just focus on just those who are taking math. We know there are 41 people total who are taking math. 36 of them are also taking English, which means the difference here are those who are not taking English. So if there are 41 total people, 36 of them are taking English, then the difference, taking that away, we see that there are 5 people who are not taking English. So hopefully you can see this table starting to take shape. We now can fill out one of these rows. Let's just look at this row. There are 5 total people who are not taking English but are taking math, and there are 86 total people who are not taking English and not taking math. So that means the total number of people in this row who are not taking English, we can sum these together. I know there's a lot of nots and yes and no's, but we know that the rows need to add up over on the right and the columns need to add down. So when you add the total number of people who are not taking English, that's 86 plus 5, it is 91. There are 91 people total who are not taking English. Now the last thing to do for these last two cells, just do a little bit more subtraction. And hopefully, when we get down to the last cell, everything should link into place. So if we think about those who are not taking math, well, we had a total of 157 people, and out of those 157 people, 86 are not taking English. So if we subtract those 86 people, we'll get the difference, and these will be the people who are not taking math, but they are taking English. With a little bit of subtraction, I see that this is 71 people. Now finally, let's look over to see the total number of people who are taking English. I see there are 36 people who are taking English and taking math. And I add to that the 71 who are taking English but not taking math. And what I get, 107. Sum those together. A nice check is to make sure now when I add down, we better get 198. So 107 plus 91, we get 198. So that's a nice check. It should all lock into place once we fill this out. My main recommendation when you're creating these tables, trying to organize everything, definitely start by just thinking about what are your two quote-unquote variables. So in this particular problem, a person said yes or no to math, and they have to have yes or no for English as well. So they are going to have a total of 4 different combinations, 4 different intersections for these two variables. We know that if we're given a little bit of information, we want to work against the totals. If we know the totals, we can do a little bit of subtraction to figure out our empty cells. Finally, if we think we're all done, we know that all of the cells, the columns, need to add up to the totals clearly, and the rows need to add up. So if we are correct with all of our placement of values, then we know the total needs to sum, in this particular problem, to 198, which we call the grand sum or the grand total. So this is the grand sum or the grand total.